Jinai. Oh, Mr. Pascoe, I'm glad you came. I have a request. I am told that you like to play music when you perform a surgery. Would you do me the honor of playing this when you do the operation for me today? My personal favorite, Puccini.
Turandot.
Right.
I too have a request, sir.
Yes.
They are the names of 6 young men who were executed in the state prison here this week. My information is that their organs were illegally removed and sold for transplantation.
And the source of information?
The point is whether or not these claims have any veracity.
You must understand something about China, Mr. Pascoe. Our hearts may be on the left, but our pockets are on the right. People will always seek personal gain out of the misfortune of others.
If my facts are correct, sir, your own government health department is implicated.
It is so easy, is it not, to go into some different, unfamiliar culture, hear bad things, and make hasty judgments. One could walk down the streets in London, like I once did, and see people lying in the doorways and draw conclusions about the state of your own society.
Well, perhaps we should learn from one another, inform each other's cultures.
We are learning from yours all the time.
I'm asking for your help, sir, to put an end to these practices.
How can I? I can't even help myself. I have placed my hopes in your hands, Mr. Pascoe. I have shown you my ultimate trust. Please, don't abuse it.
Right. Let's do it, shall we?
Dad? Dad!
What the bloody hell's going on? Where's Edgar?
You're going to have to cancel. You have no choice.
It's a standard coronary. Why don't we just do it ourselves? Look, the technicians we pushed them for a bit of hard cash, weren't they?
But he asked for Edgar, didn't he?
I thought that was the whole fucking deal. Bloody ridiculous.
Go and find Dad. Get him back to the hotel and keep him there till I get there. You're going to have to help me, Doctor. Explain to them my father suddenly felt unwell.
Where's your father now? This is not the way to do it. Not like this.
赵医生，请你跟我们走一趟。
对不起，我要先换衣服。
Christ, Daddy, what's going on? What are you doing?
What's it look like?
Was this because of me? Was this because of my paper and this thing with Dilip? Look, if I let you down, I'm sorry, but we can make it right. We really can.
You're not the only star in the solar system, not quite.
We had to cancel an operation, Daddy. You can't just waltz off and leave us with this. I mean, what possessed you? Right, come on. Give me that. Look, I'm doing this for your own sake.
My sake!
Nicola. It was a source of pride to me that I'd never once struck one of my children in anger. My only regret is that I should have done it years ago.
Come on, Daddy. When would you have found the time?
It's open. So I shan't keep you a minute, gentlemen.
He hasn't checked out of the hotel. Don't know where he is. How was he when you saw him?
I told you, volatile.
He's in trouble, Nicola. He was approached about a human rights thing over dissident prisoners. He spoke to Juan about it.
Oh, Christ.
The mood he was in, he probably thought he had nothing to lose.
Oh, you'd just love this if it was all my fault, wouldn't you?
You're everything to him, you know that. You walk into a room, he lights up like a fucking candle.
You could have had that too.
Currency got a little debased.
He hit me. I mean, I get on a roll sometimes. I do things. I mean, everyone does, don't they? From time to time. Remember when we were kids and he'd go away on a trip somewhere? And how when he came back, I was always the first to go and greet him. I was frightened that if I wasn't first, he wouldn't see me at all.
I know. I wouldn't wish that particular fate on anyone.
You know, I was doing a stint in the renal unit last year. It suddenly occurred to me that if one of us got sick, needed a transplant,
they go to the other one. Closer to one another than to any other human being.
How about that?
What are we going to do, Daniel?
A safe journey home, Mr. Pascoe.
Grounds? Irreconcilable differences, I thought. So we wouldn't have to go to court for that. No, he hasn't got to our solicitor yet. Yes, I will. Thank you.
July, Lhasa, Tibet. Tomorrow, I go to Guernsey. I'm glad now that I am alone. Perhaps it is only when you're alone, when your mind is uncluttered by the dogma of others, that you can be truly receptive. Here in Tibet, they say all disease stems from 3 causes: hatred, attachment, and closed-mindedness.
Mr. Pascoe, I've scheduled your first private clinic for the 22nd. There's some queries on your operating list that week. If you could call me?
Mark Fowler, Mr. Pascoe. We...
Mrs. Lawson? Yes, I'm back a few days earlier than expected. Very nice, very interesting. A bit hot. Yes, look, I'd like you to do some rescheduling of my diary, if you wouldn't mind. Yes, do you think you could arrange a clinic for me tomorrow morning, please? Yes, just phone round, would you? Right, and I shall need all next week's operating list brought forward, if you wouldn't mind. Yes, all of them. Yes, thank you. Oh, it's very kind of you. Yes, well, nice to be back. Bye. dear old friend. What were you thinking of? Mind you, Temgesic will hardly do the job, will it? You remember that incantation we had at med school? It's the right tool for every job. I should have used a shotgun, 12-bore. No coming back from that. That professor of neurosurgery we had, he could take out a posterior fossa brain tumor without leaving a graze. Slit his throat with a kitchen knife. You just can't give up the fight, old man. However unequal. Look, a patient walks in, on the brink of death. You open his chest with the old buzzsaw, replumb his heart, and out he goes on his own back legs. Hope won, despair nil. What else is there?
Okay, let's see what they got for us today. It won't be long. Get yourself a cuppa. Okay, Temgesic OD. As you can see, he's still on the ventilator. Gas is good. No sign of aspiration. Minimal eye movement recorded. How do we eliminate the possibility of cerebral ischemia?
Will he make it?
Well, the brain damage aspect is still unresolved.
He came to see me. I was less than gracious.
Well, we can all be guilty of that, Mrs. Sedgley.
Was there a note or... I suppose you get used to it. Taking responsibility for the lives of other people.
There are no brave doctors, only brave patients.
My husband wasn't brave, Mr. Pascoe. He was terrified. The night before he went into hospital, he couldn't sleep. I went downstairs. He was sitting in the living room, in the dark. He said he didn't want the operation. Couldn't face it. I called him a coward. Told him to behave like a man. He slept alone that night. I'm dropping the case against you both. I'll write to the GMC today. They say they can hear, don't they? I mean, people who are unconscious.
They do say so, yes.
Tell him sorry for me, will you?
Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen.
Dr. Chen. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Sorry. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Sean, keep your moment. Good morning, Mr. Dawson.
Good to have you back, Mr. Pascoe.
very kind. Nice to
I phoned around as you asked, told everyone you were back. You must have pretty much a full clinic, I think.
Yes, so I see. Well done.
Phone messages, I dealt with those I could. Your daughter rang. Can you call her?
Yes, of course.
Tell me to piss off and I'm gone. Look, I can't make any excuses. There is no excuse. I know that. What I did was completely out of order. I'm taking my name off the paper. You'll get sole authorship.
And Professor Hartley?
I'll square that with him too.
There'll be questions.
I appreciate that. I've seen you in the theatre. I know what you can do. Like my brother. Same precision. Same brilliance. And I can't rely on a talent I just don't have. There could be another way. A way we can both keep our names on the paper. I mentioned my father to you. No, Dilip, just hear me out, please. Now, he's always on the look for new operating talent. Now, these cardiac operations can get $4,000 a go. Even routine insurance jobs get $2,000. Now, 3 of those a week, even after the anaesthetists and others get their whack, could set you up for life. I mean, just think. In a few years' time, running your own clinic in Harley Street. Why not? I just have to talk to my dad. You've worked as hard as everyone else for a piece of the action.
get out.
You all right?
What was it, another dream? Have you got a pain there?
Call it stress. There's a nasty habit of creeping up on you when you least expect it.
Is that wise, with the pills?
Well, wise or not, cheers. So, when did you get back?
Nicola and I got in last night, and the others are due back this morning. Devlin's going to have to do a pretty serious damage limitation job out there. Why did you do it, Dad? Was it a crisis of confidence or a crisis of conscience?
Assuming that they are mutually exclusive. Crisis. There's a new theory on the gut. Do you know it? Apparently it has a mind of its own. The enteric nervous system. They say that it's composed of a network of nerve fibers and neurotransmitters just like the brain, and that it's the major repository of human misery and happiness.
So you had a gut reaction?
Oh, is that what they call it? Dismissed by the medical profession hitherto as a psychosomatic phenomenon.
That, doctor in the hospital out there, Dr. Zhao, she was taken off somewhere for questioning her. She knew what she was doing, the risk she was taking.
Top up.
You might ring Mother, she's worried about you.
Yes, I'm planning on going over tomorrow. Get some clean clothes.
Dad, the day I graduated from medical school, when you didn't turn up for the ceremony, why was that?
I had a list that day. You know that.
I'll look in tomorrow.
I suppose when you gave up medicine, he saw all that potential go to waste.
He never saw it. That's the whole point.
He used to say I made him feel the feelings he never knew he had. I've lost the knack of that somewhere. I used to watch you as a child, waiting for him to make the first move. Waiting for him to touch you, to hold you. But the fact is you were no better at it than him. Not just because of Nicola but you had the same reticence. You shrink from contact. Just like him. It's like one of those distorting mirrors at a fairground. Except that it's not just our physical defects that get magnified. It's as if the clumsy, ungainly creature that you see is absolutely how you know yourself to be. And so you recoil from it. As you do from each other.
Ah, yes. Well, this is more like it, eh? Yes, you'll be back on the squash court before you know where you are. Well, I'll pop in and see you again on Monday. I'm off down to the country. Oh, by the way, Mrs. Sedgley, guess what? She's dropping the case.
I'm shutting up shop, Edgar. I've a couple of pensions that'll eat me out. If not, well, there's always cruise liners. The odd weekend clinic in Saudi. Weird what goes on in your head when you're out of it. That neurosurgeon at med school did himself in with a kitchen knife. Suddenly, it's popped into my head. God knows why. I once had a drink with him after a lecture, and he told me a story about Jung, about some patient who went to see him about a recurring bad dream. The patient was a rock climber. He kept dreaming that he was having a rest on a climb, and that he woke up and just stepped off the mountain. Just stepped into oblivion. And Jung asked him what he felt at the exact moment that he stepped off the ledge. He said, ecstasy. And Jung warned him that he must never climb another mountain again. About a year later, the wretched man died, just as his dream had foretold. He stepped off a mountain ledge to his death, and a colleague asked Jung why he'd forbidden him to go climbing again. And Jung said it all lay in the Greek root of the word ecstasy. Ex, meaning out of, and stasis, meaning standing. Standing outside oneself. The man just wanted to die.
What on earth happened?
I had to do some emergency paramedic stuff, rather. Out of practice with that sort of thing.
You look wrecked, Edgar.
I'm fine, don't fuss.
Did you speak to Nicola?
Yes, you were right about her paper. She assumed I'd back her over it, lie for her. She just assumed it.
Why did she do it? Didn't you ask her? Speak to her about it?
I suppose it was ambition or lack of moral fibre. We must hope it's a self-limiting condition.
This isn't some nameless registrar we're discussing, Edgar!
She makes her own choices, pays her own dues.
Well, that's the party line, is it? But then, of course, it was always rather a private party you and she held, wasn't it? Invitation only.
And where are we? You and I? Separation pending divorce? Or separation pending further separation? Polite exchange of legal letters. Christmas cards. And reports from the children about our impending lumbago.
I want a divorce, Edgar.
Sorry? Oh, yes. Probably sensible. You know how I am about loose ends.
Won't you talk to me, Edgar? Tell me what's going on with you.
I want to just tell you. Love me.
I never stopped. God knows I tried.
Morning.
Morning. Edgar? I never was one for one-night stands.
There was a doctor in China. Oh, she wasn't much older than Nicola.
And?
And the similarity ends. I let her down. There was a child last night. I couldn't help her. I tried. But I didn't have anything with me. No equipment, no instruments, no registrar to assist me. I had no tools at all. Except these.
Anything?
No. Has to be here.
Can I see this?
Yes, of course.
Well, all the premier medical journals are here, Mr. Pascoe. The New England Journal of Medicine, The Lancet, all the European and American specialist journals, and the Australian and Japanese ones. Every paper that's ever been written on the subject.
Yes, I know.
We can only assume it wasn't considered to be of medical value.
Well.
am. Present and correct as requested.
Yes, we'll have our champagne now, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You celebrating something?
A career move.
Ah, Edgar Pascoe, just the man. You've not forgotten about the Liverpool Surgical Conference next week.
No, of course not.
You're chairing the session on surgical training, remember?
Yes, I look forward to it.
We've got Tony Chaplin from New York coming over. Should be a lively one.
I look forward to it.
I'll make sure hotel details and so forth are faxed over.
Thank you very much.
So what's this career move? What have you been up to?
The editor at The Lancet's a friend of mine. I'll phone him, tell him there was a mix-up over your paper, have your name taken off and your colleagues reinstated. I'll also phone Professor Hartley, explain that your actions were an isolated moral lapse due to overwork. I doubt he'll swallow it, but when he sees your letter of resignation, I suspect he'll let sleeping dogs lie.
Resignation?
Now, you have 2 months to run before your present contract ends and your specialist registrar post in Leeds starts. That's where you kick in. I want you to contact Ian Cartland at the cardiac unit there. Thank him for his job offer, but explain that instead you've decided to do a stint in the United States to broaden your clinical base. Now, I've spoken to Hugh Lyle at the Lakeside in Seattle. He doesn't have an opening there himself, but he says that the emergency room in the state hospital is always undermanned at intern level.
Intern level?
Yes, I told him you wouldn't mind a step down on the career ladder, that you were anxious to consolidate your hands-on experience. Of course, there'd be a lot of night shifts, routine cutting and sewing and so forth. But I told him that you'd jump at the chance. Thank you very much. Work permit allowing, I've suggested a 2-year contract.
You just can't do this, Daddy.
A lot of hopes and dreams have been invested in these hands. I wouldn't like to see all that go to waste.
And if I refused?
Well, as you know, the GMC is very touchy about doctors who falsify their research papers.
I didn't falsify it.
I know what you did.
It's hard enough being a woman in surgery without having to live up to the hallowed name of Pascoe wherever you turn.
We can all of us find a convenient peg for failure.
You never asked. You have no idea. So really, the long and short of it is that I have no redeeming features whatsoever.
Oh, I don't know. In this light, you look disconcertingly like your mother.
I thought you and I would run your practice together. I thought that's what you wanted to do.
I misled you. I apologize. Right, to summarize then, the main concern expressed by the panel is that trainee surgeons now only do emergency surgery for a few months on average, thereby potentially creating a situation where we may well have a whole generation of surgeons who can barely do an appendectomy. On that very sober note, we'll end. Thank you all for your contribution.
Edgar, hang on a moment, will you?
Before we all head off for a well-earned lunch, we have one more item to deal with. As you know, from time to time, the Royal Cardiothoracic Society bestows an honorary lifetime fellowship on those who have made a singular and distinguished contribution to their profession. Today's recipient needs little introduction from me. His entry in Who's Who puts most of us to shame. His contribution to cardiac surgery is unparalleled in the UK. The son of a magistrate's clerk in Shropshire, he went to grammar school and then to Cambridge, where he studied medicine and later specialized in cardiac surgery. He's a man who richly deserves the success he's earned over the years, and indeed, this honor today. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Edgar Pascoe.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very handsome. Thank you. I must say I'm totally taken by surprise. Hands up, all those who knew in advance this was going to happen. Through a long and checkered career, I've been fortunate enough to some years ago, I was observing a transplant operation, and when they removed the patient's beating heart, there was an empty cavity a bit like this, where the heart once lay. And I remember thinking, as they reached for the box which held his new heart, what if it weren't there? What if it was, I don't know, a kidney or a lung? What if they'd been sent the wrong box? For surely, a defective heart is better than no heart at all. Now, some of you may know that I went recently to China. While I was there, I saw some other boxes. Boxes of organs illegally removed from young dissident prisoners awaiting execution and sold to the highest bidder. Other doctors, you see, other doctors surrendering to the market needs of supply and demand, just like us. And we can accuse them, of course, but is it not we, with our dazzling panoply of machinery and technology, who have helped create the need which they supply, because we are sanctified by the certainty of science? And we have our excuse for avoiding the humanity in that. The daily roll call of tragedy, which can confront us. We have our tricks of the trade to protect us. Terminal, inoperable, malignant, we speak in code in the face of suffering. We avert our eyes, we hide in our temple of science. Hope nil, despair one. I went to China to trade on the power of our technology. But while I was there, I saw that I had lost sight of where the real power lies, the power that resides in the relationship between human beings, a mighty invisible power which helps fuel the desire we all have within us to heal ourselves. An example, a young man. Let's say that he's conversant with the principles of science. Now, suppose this young man believes himself to be freezing to death. Could he trigger his body into obeying the signals of his brain?
And if such a phenomenon were possible, what if the signals of the brain said the reverse? To what extent could a sick man influence himself to become well? Now, no autopsy has as yet determined the exact physical location of the human soul. Does that mean it doesn't exist? Are we really so arrogant as to insist that unless it is susceptible to scientific analysis, we cannot, will not embrace it? So you see, it's not only my patients now who are plagued by uncertainty, but my uncertainty has made me their equal, and I want to build on that. I want to give them the prerogative in the healing process to ensure that they can make informed decisions about their own treatment. And I intend to give their emotional, their spiritual needs as much emphasis as the physical. And instead of closing ranks against other doctors whose fields of expertise may be unfamiliar or esoteric, I intend to regard them as a valued resource. It's a modest enough ambition, God knows. But modesty, I now realize, is my ally and not my enemy. So, there. That's how things stand with me. So, you know, I'm so grateful to have been the recipient of this award. I do thank you. But I'm afraid I can't accept it. I haven't earned the right to it. No, I haven't. For those of you who have been, thank you for listening.
Was it a sermon?
A rather large drink is in order, I'd say.
Or even two.
But not here. Let's go somewhere special. Won't be long.
This is supposed to be a surprise, okay? So not a word. I'm going to give it another go. There's a senior houseman's job coming up in the Department of Surgery at Manchester, and I thought I'd have a shot at it.